Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you're visiting. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already guessed by the title, today I'm going to be doing a Perla brand review. And I'm super excited to do this video because I have absolutely fallen in love with one of their fragrances. I originally had a 5ml decant of this, but I absolutely rinsed through it and I'm so happy that I now have a bottle of it. But I thought it would be quite interesting to do an actual brand review because I have a discovery kit here too. So Perla is a very well-known luxury lingerie brand and they have been making perfumes for quite some time. However, some of their more recent creations have been getting a lot more hype within the community, and for good reason, because the Haute Couture collection is absolutely sublime in my opinion, and I think the bottles are really chic. What I'm going to do is talk through my favorite fragrance from the collection first, and then I will go through the discovery set and tell you which ones I really like and which ones are maybe not so much for me. And if you like the sound of that video, then please do keep on watching. But before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out and I will continue making content like this in the future. Of course, only subscribe if you like my channel, but you are watching, so I'm hoping you do like this content. And I thought I would mix it up a little bit today, and I'm wearing a bright colour, which is very unusual for me, and I've got some little bright nuances in the background because I think Perla is a very sexy brand. And the fragrance that is actually my favourite is extremely sexy, let me tell you. So I thought I would try to make it a little bit spicy in terms of like the outfit I was wearing. I mean, it's still PG spicy, but it's bright red. You might know what fragrance I'm going to be discussing first as my personal favourite from the brand. And that is none other than Possibilities. And apologies, this bottle is super reflective and you can see the lighting. But it's a really cute, chic bottle. And it's actually, the colour's not pulling very well, but it's actually like a really deep maroon red, which I can see in person, but you can't pick up so well on the camera. And I have the 30ml bottle. I think I'm gonna need the 100ml bottle because I am gonna rinse through this. I absolutely love it and it is my scent of the day. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of an extra spray because it's that good. Yes, I'm overspraying, but I just wanna like bathe in this fragrance. So I'm gonna keep the cap off because it is ultra reflective and you're gonna see everything that's around the room within the cap. But to me, I think this is the sexiest fragrance I've added in my collection this year, personally. It's a very floral scent, but it is a combination of white florals, red florals, pink florals, but then it has a big dose of pepper in there, which I think is super sexy. The dry down, the pepper is a lot more prominent, but within the opening, you're getting this really fresh kind of freesia, blackcurrant bud, rose, petalia. It is super gorgeous and it is not old-fashioned in any way. It is just a sexy floral. The base has ambergris, cashmere wood and vanilla to really ground the fragrance, but what I mostly get in the dry down is kind of like a musky pink pepper with kind of like this really sexy, dewy, dark red rose dry down. The freesia is really prominent in the opening, is very fresh, and then you get that beautiful petalia note, which is a fantasy note. I just don't know how else to describe this other than telling you that I think it is ultra sexy. So if you can get a sample of this, I would highly recommend trying it. But there are others in the collection that might be more to your preference, and they do a discovery set too, which I'm going to show you shortly. But this was definitely my favourite discovery of this year, I think. I was lucky enough to be able to discover it at a PR event I went to. They had Perla there and they let me take home a 5ml decant and I absolutely just kept wearing it and it lasts so long on clothing. I was wearing like a tweed blazer that day and then I wore it maybe like 3-4 days later and I could still smell Possibilities on the clothing. So it absolutely will last. And this is definitely at a luxury price point. So if you don't want to fork out for the 100ml bottle, you can pick them up in 30ml sizes, which is absolutely perfect. I mean, I have so many fragrances in my collection that I would normally always reach for a 30ml or a 50ml before purchasing a 100ml. I just love this one so much. I know I will eventually get the 100ml. But yeah, it's just a really sensual fragrance. I would wear this during the day, but also on a date night. And I can just envision this woman wearing either like a lace and satin slip dress with red lipstick and her hair in a slick back bun. Or maybe she's going to go a bit more fiery. She's power dressing, she's wearing a red suit, and this is her fragrance of choice. It is a seductive fragrance, 100%. But don't let that description put you off, because I feel like this borders between like an angel and a devil in a way. Like, it's kind of light, but it's also kind of spicy. Like, it kind of flows both ways. So that's why I say that you could definitely wear it during the day too. I think it's just the vibe and how you pull it off. I don't want to gush too much about this one. However, Possibilities is definitely my personal favorite from the brand, and I will be reaching for this so much now I have the actual bottle. So I'd highly recommend checking this out if you like fragrances similar to my personal preference. So yeah, that was La Perla Possibilities, and wow, that's all I can say. So let's get on to the Discovery Kit. And I actually had the Discovery Kit before I acquired the full-size bottle of Possibilities. And it comes in a little case like this, and you just open it up and it has the different fragrances inside. It's illustrated very nicely. And there are 8 fragrances within the collection. And I love the range of different bottles. And to me, when you go through the range, it starts from maybe the lightest to the deepest, and the colors definitely reflect that. The only thing I will say about the Discovery set, and I don't know if it's just the one I have, is they're actually like dab bottles, they're not sprays. And I personally prefer a spray bottle. I find it a little bit harder to work with these dab ones, especially when I'm sampling fragrances, because I like to spray my samples onto a paper blotter to test it. But if you are going to be wearing them on your skin, then this is fine. But my personal preference is a spray bottle. But I do think they're super chic, and I just love the styling of this collection. I am going to talk through them all, but I might go through some of them pretty quickly, the ones that maybe aren't to my preference. And then there are a couple of others that I absolutely love, so I will go into a little bit more detail. But I have taken notes on my phone because I tried these out twice now on paper blotters and on the skin. So I have been journaling my thoughts along the way. So let's get into the rest of the La Perla collection. So first up, I'm going to talk about Invisible Touch, which is in this beautiful baby pink bottle. And this is the one that I would say is the lightest in the range. It has notes of ylang ylang, violet, bergamot, and aldehydes. It's a very light fragrance, almost like I've just stepped out of the bath and I am freshly washed, but it is super comforting. And what I actually said in my notes is very similar to how I just described it. I said it was fresh, soapy, and out of the shower floral. It is a gorgeous aldehyde fragrance, very classy, but almost invisible. It's a chic fragrance. So at the PR event I went to, they actually use this one quite often to layer with other fragrances. So something like Possibilities, as an example, if it was maybe a little bit too heavy for day wear for some people, you could layer it with Invisible Touch and it would just soften it a little bit. So I do like Invisible Touch. It's not necessarily something that I would reach for or add to my collection, but if you do love those clean soapy scents, this is one that might be for you. So let's move on to My Day, which is in this really gorgeous light green bottle, and I really love the colors of these bottles. So this one I wasn't as much of a fan of. It was very, again, light, soapy, floral. It has ylang ylang, iris, and orris, so it was a very musky scent, which isn't the profile that I tend to go for fragrances. So let's get on to my fragrance notes. I wrote that it was a soapy iris. It was nice, but a little bit old-fashioned for my taste. My least favorite out of the collection. It is very iris dominant, and I tend to not enjoy iris dominant fragrances, just my personal preference. But if iris is a fragrance note that you really enjoy, you might like My Day. So the next fragrance is Villa Sorrento, and it is also in that beautiful green bottle. And this one is a very citrus dominant fragrance. I think this one actually stands out in the collection because it is really the only citrus fresh dominant fragrance. It would be perfect for like a Riviera holiday, for the spring and for the summer, but I tend to not reach for citrus dominant fragrances. However, I do enjoy this note profile. So let's see what the notes are on this fragrance. It was pretty short. I wrote fresh citrus, smells like fresh orange peel, and that is literally all I wrote. I think it is actually a really nice fragrance. However, I do already have some fresh citruses in my collection, so this is one I wouldn't be picking up, but it is a very nice fresh fragrance if this is your type of vibe. So now we're reaching the dark blue bottles, and these ones are really, really cool in my opinion. And this is where they kind of push the boundaries in terms of depth and complexity. Once Upon a Garden, my notes of this one was I enjoy very much. It's a very fresh floral. It smells like the dust inside lilies, and what I meant by that is like the pollen, the orangey stuff that you get on the lily buds. I don't know what it's called, but like that kind of stuff, really, really fresh. It's a beautiful sweet pea fragrance with a dash of mint. It's how I imagine Phoebe in Bridgerton to smell. Her name is not actually Phoebe in Bridgerton, but it's the main character, the one with the beautiful red hair. So I just imagine this to be a very ladylike fragrance. They live in a huge manor house and they are dressed beautifully in a gorgeous outfit, dress, high heels, pearl necklace. So Once Upon a Garden, I think, is an extremely classy fragrance. If you are someone who likes your florals, I think this is one to definitely check out. It's more of a light and fresh floral fragrance, as I mentioned in my notes, and the sweet pea note really cuts through, and I like the addition of mint. So it was a really nice fragrance. It's not one that I will add to my collection, but I absolutely enjoyed the scent profile. Next up is one that I really enjoyed from this collection, and it is called About That Night, and it again is in the dark blue bottle, and I think this is my third favorite within this collection. There's a lot going on within this fragrance, but I love the dry down. It has tonka bean, musk and sandalwood. You don't necessarily get that in the opening, but you 100% get it within the dry down on the skin, and it is a very unique scent profile. I really enjoy this, and I think it is a very sexy fragrance. It's versatile though. This is something that I would wear day to night again. And I love that it's very different within this range. And actually, if I think about the range as a whole, there's something to suit everyone, definitely. They've really thought this collection through very well to make sure that there is something for everyone's tastes, in my opinion. So what I said about this night is I love this one. It's musky and sweet. It reminds me of Parma Violets. It's not dusty though, so it's not got that dusty violet note in it. It is my third favourite. So what I meant by it smells like Parma Violets, although it doesn't have any of the typical notes of a Parma Violet sweet or any fragrances that are normally compared to that, it really reminded me of a childhood sweet, and that's the only one I could liken it to. It might have been more like Sweethearts or something like that, but it's a beautiful kind of sweet, musky floral with a beautiful dry down of the tonka, sandalwood and musk. I think it is absolutely special. I want to play with it a little bit more. However, this is really up my street in the type of fragrance profiles that I like, and I just think this would also make a gorgeous date night scent. So that was About That Night. Now we're moving on to the red bottles, and we have Give Me Roses. Now to me, this is a straight up, big, fat, juicy red rose. I'm not sure it's that unique. There's nothing that kind of wowed me within this fragrance, but it is a beautiful rose fragrance. It also has a note of saffron in there, which is one of my favorite fragrance notes, but it is a very straight up kind of linear red rose fragrance. My notes are literally classic red rose fragrance. So I have nothing bad to say about it at all, but there was just nothing in there that kind of wowed me or made me kind of take additional notes. It just wasn't a standout. However, it was a nice red rose fragrance. So if you love red roses and you are a rose fan, then maybe you should check this one out. Okay, we are on the last fragrance other than Possibilities, and this one again is in the red bottle, and this one is called Let the Dance Begin, and this is my second favorite to Possibilities. They could be a close tie. I do need to play with this one a little bit more, but it has a cardamom note in there. And for any of you that watch my channel, you know how I feel about cardamom, especially lately. I'm on a proper craze for it. So yeah, let's get into what this one smells like. So this one is very complex. There's a lot going on in there. It has cardamom, like I said, but it also has black pepper and pink pepper. It has a really beautiful note of cinnamon, a hefty dose of tonka bean, a really prominent caramel note. The tuberose actually cuts through, and I do enjoy the tuberose note in this fragrance, even though it's not normally my preference. And then there's beautiful like kind of woods and patchouli in the base. Like I said, very complex, but ultra alluring. So let's get on to what my notes said. So what I said about Let the Dance Begin is it's a beautiful rose oud, very beautiful actually, almost chocolatey. It's caramel and it's boozy. I pick up ylang ylang and tuberose. It's my second favorite in the collection, and it smells like something I have to have. So I clearly like this one. I don't normally like tuberose, but when it's mixed with all of those different notes and you've got that kind of really sweet caramel, you've got the tonka, you've got the rose, you've got the oud, it's so complex, but also so very special. So I think I'm going to add this one to my collection very soon. It is an absolute showstopper within the collection, as well as Possibilities. So like I said, Possibilities is my favorite, followed by Let the Dance Begin, but they are very close and they could become tied in the future. I need to play around with it a little bit more. But yeah, that is my thoughts on Let the Dance Begin. So my roundup of La Perla is it's a beautiful, versatile collection. My favorite being Possibilities, and then Let the Dance Begin, and then About That Night. And I think I would put Once Upon a Garden in 4th place, and then maybe Invisible Touch, and then it kind of goes down from there. But I think this is definitely worth discovering, or a brand that's definitely worth discovering. I would highly recommend picking up the Discovery set or going to a local store where you know it's stocked. I think they've really done such a fabulous job with this collection. They're very sexy fragrances, but then again, what else would you expect from a very classy lingerie brand? I'm very impressed with La Perla fragrances, and yeah, that was my roundup of the brand. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope La Perla gets more recognition in the future because they have some really beautiful fragrances. There are some people starting to talk about it, but I think it is relatively undiscovered at the moment. But if you did like this video, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel, of course, only if you like my content. It's been amazing having you as always. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much, and goodbye.